1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you're good.
All right, Lynn, all yours.
Okay, awesome. So welcome everybody to our Blue Star Families PCS. The only thing permanent about PCS is change Town Hall. So we are so glad to have you here today. I want to just introduce myself. My name is Lynn Schultz. I am the Florida State Coordinator for Building Healthy Military Communities. And today, in partnership with Blue Star Families and Cohen Veterans Network, we are so excited to be able to offer this town hall to you right now. So you might be a military member, you might be a family member, you might know someone who is. This is a great town hall just for you. You can share this information. We hope to be able to offer a link at the end of this town hall that you can share with those that you love, with friends, family on social media, and then also, you know, again, to family programs across every branch of service. So we hope to be able to help support you, not just here during this town hall, but also after this town hall. So without any further ado, I want to make sure if you're not speaking, to make sure that you have your computer or your phone, whatever you are dialing in on mute, please. And then if you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. We have someone, or you can put it in the chat. We have someone that will be answering questions. You can feel free at any point in time, ask questions of any of the presenters. Even if you wanted someone else is presenting and you meant to ask a question to the presenter prior to that person, please feel free just to raise your hand or put that question in the chat. We hope to have a little bit of time at the end for questions there too. So let's just get started. So again, my name is Lynn Schultz. I am the Florida State Coordinator for Building Healthy Military Communities. The goal of Building Healthy Military Communities is to identify and address challenges of geographically dispersed service members and their families. So what does that mean? When we say geographically dispersed, we're talking about those that don't live on or near an active duty installation, or maybe they do, and they just don't qualify for the benefits that they can receive off of an active duty installation. So what we worked hard to do with Building Healthy Military Communities is create strategic level partnerships with organizations in the community to address those challenges. Some of our impact areas are in physical activity and nutrition, behavioral health and mental health, to include tobacco cessation, excessive alcohol, physical activity, getting out there and making sure that you have that proper endorphins running through that brain to help you make right decisions. But then also suicide prevention is another avenue that we really work to impact with Building Healthy Military Communities. I sit on the board for the Fire Watch Council for the Nassau County. I'm that representative. I also sit on a couple of different boards with the Department of Health for behavioral health. I also sit on the Blue Star Families board here in Jacksonville. So with that being said, I want to introduce you to our First of all, she's not just a presenter. She's a co-host here for this town hall. It's actually her town hall. So we want to introduce Wendy Layton, who is the Jacksonville Chapter Director for Blue Star Families. Wendy, take it away.
Thank you, Len. She does such a great job. This is why she is our hostess today. I hate being on camera, but I know that it is a necessary part of my job. I thank all of you for being here, for participating. Every one of you were hand selected to be here. We appreciate your knowledge and the fact that you're willing to share all of this with us and everyone who might be listening. This idea was born for me, 26 years ago when we moved cross country with 4 kids, 2 cats, and my Navy husband, and I realized how stressful that luckily was our last PCS move, but it was very stressful. And I know that it can be easier. There are challenges. Those aren't going to all go away, but maybe listening today, you might be able to pick up some suggestions and what to look for on the other side when you do arrive at your next duty station. Or maybe, you know, you're just looking for some answers on things to do over the summer. You're going to get, there's something for everyone here. I promise you're going to get something out of it. Give us a chance and listen to these experts. And thank you all for being here. I appreciate it. Len, back to you.
Wendy, thank you so much. We appreciate you and all you do for families across the whole Northeast Florida area, really, but Jacksonville specific. But just thank you so much. I do believe that there are attendees that are not actually just from Florida. There are attendees all over the Southeast region, especially. So we're really excited about that. So let me go ahead and introduce you to our next presenter, Elizabeth Schur. So I'm just really glad that I've had opportunity to meet her. But let me just read a little bit about Elizabeth. She goes by Liz, so we'll just make it a little bit less formal and say Liz. Is the clinic director at the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Centerstone in Jacksonville. She is also a licensed mental health counselor, but I think one of the most proud things that she is defined as is a 20-year retired Army officer and Operation Iraqi Freedom veteran, but also a daughter of a Vietnam veteran. How amazing is that? She's also a wife of a National Guard soldier. So I know she understands the mixed challenges that come, not only National Guard, full-time military as well, but then it's a child of someone that's in the military. Prior to her current position at the Cohen Clinic at Centerstone in Jacksonville, she was a clinician at the Cohen Clinic at Centerstone in Clarksville, Tennessee. She focuses on several areas to include veteran transitions, military families, military sexual trauma survivors, and PTSD, both combat and non-combat traumas. Liz, thank you so much for being here, and we look forward to hearing all about it. Again, if they have any questions, put it in the chat or raise your hand.
Great, thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. I'm going to pop my slides up here. Make sure I can get them on. I have 3 monitors, so you have to bear with me as I do this. Okay. Into slideshow. Can you see that okay? Is that, you see slides?
You don't see it yet, Liz.
Let me try. I apologize. This always seems to happen. All right, let me try this. What is going on? Share. How about now?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, great. Okay, I apologize for that. So as Lynn had introduced me, I am the clinic director for the Stephen A. Cohen Military Family Clinic at Centerstone, Jacksonville. We've been around now a little over a year. We had an interesting start because we'd opened our doors and COVID happened. So we're really excited to announce on June 3rd, we're going to start inviting people for in-person therapy sessions and services, but we are doing telehealth, and I'll explain a little more about that as I go through. So a little history about the Cohen Veteran Network. Stephen Cohen is a philanthropist and billionaire that lives in New York City. Some people may know him as the man who just recently bought the New York Mets. He had a son, or has a son, who went to Brown University and decided after he went to college, he wanted to join the Marines. He joined the Marines. He did 2 deployments to Afghanistan and came home and realized that there was an issue, and service members and veterans had problems with access to care for quality mental health care. So $275 million gift later, the Cohen Veterans Network was created. So what do? We offer evidence-based short-term mental health care. When I say short-term, it's 8 to 12 sessions for post 9/11 veterans, their family members. We just started an active duty program, so we're now able to see active duty service members. Okay, who we serve. So we serve veterans, like I mentioned, but that also includes our National Guard and Reserves. Because we've started with the active duty program, that includes activated National Guard and Reservists. So anybody that has either held a has a DD-214, has spent 1 day in the military, they are welcome in our clinic. We also don't, character of discharge, it's not an issue. We do not discriminate against any other types of discharge outside of honorable. Anybody can come. We also don't define who your family is. So we all know that there are times that our support system may not have been our families, just because of where we've been stationed or located, or for other reasons. So because we don't define family, whomever that veteran or family member identifies as someone that is part of their family, they can receive services as well. So this is kind of a makeup of just our clients. Right now, about 56% are veterans, 44% are family members, and 14% it says children, but our numbers are a little, we see quite a few family members. And it says 31% female veterans. Here in Florida has the highest number of female veterans across the nation. So that's part of the reason why our clinic is here in North Florida. Okay, we provide confidential mental health care. It's accessible to the grant for this, for the Cohen Veteran Network was written for post 9/11 veterans and families, but that does not mean that somebody who is pre 9/11 is going to be turned away. Nobody is ever turned away from our services. If it is determined that a pre 9/11 veteran or their families come in and they have no access to care, they have no insurance, they have no way of receiving care, we will see them. We have the means, a certain percentage of clients in my clinic can be pre 9/11. If it's determined that they do have access to some services, but there's going to be a gap between those services, we will provide care and our case managers will work to help get them to where they need to be. So once again, nobody's ever turned away for services. We can offer same-day appointments for those in crisis, but we can also offer same-day, next-day appointments for those that are just seeking services. You don't have to be in crisis for a same-day or next-day appointment. I'd mentioned case management services. I have a case manager, and she's a little different than what most of us would think of a typical case manager. She is there to link our clients with unemployment resources, housing, finances, education resources. One of the first questions I ask people, are you linked in with the VA or the Wounded Warrior Project? If they say no, we're there to help them with our area resources. We offer telehealth. Right now, everything's been telehealth, but June 3rd, we will start face-to-face in-person services. Certain areas that my clinicians are well-versed in: depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, adjustment issues, and transition challenges. Being in the military myself and having raised children and still raising children, it's rough when you're moving so often and kids are changing schools and, spouses. Let's talk about spouses when, you're having to move every 2 or 3 years, and that means you're changing jobs every 2 or 3 years. I I'll admit there have been times where I may not have disclosed that I was a military spouse to one of my kids' sports teams for fear that he wouldn't be selected to be on the team because they're going to move in a year or two. So there are lots of challenges that we've had to face through the years to provide our kids and our families a quote unquote normal lifestyle as best as we can. So all of my clinicians have some sort of link to the military or a background. So we have spouses who have supported their service member as clinicians. We have adult children who are clinicians now. We have veterans who are clinicians. So when we meet with you and you're looking for services, we really listen to the needs that you have. And we ask you, what is your preference? And if your preference was, I'd like to see a therapist that has been through this, who was a military spouse or is a military spouse, and understands what it's like to have a child who maybe has a learning disability, how this therapist can really help and meet those needs and really understand where that person's coming from. So, and we can do that. We have all kinds of different backgrounds for our therapists. Okay, this is where we're located. This is opening in 2020, but we have our clinics are outside of all installations, most installations. We have some new ones that are coming out next year. We have another one, Alaska, that will be opening, and Colorado Springs and a few other areas. Camp Pendleton is going to get us a satellite spot as well. So we are here. Telehealth, I've mentioned, we offer telehealth services. We have seen families as large as 6, children as young as 3, veterans, couples, families, you name it. We can do everything over telehealth. But like I said, June 3rd, we'll be back for in-person services. Where are we located? We're located off of AC Skinner Parkway. If you know where the Wounded Warrior headquarters are, we are right next door. There's nothing but a hedgerow that separates us from the big Wounded Warrior Project headquarters. And we are here. If you call this number, 904-431-3500, we, like I had said, most importantly, we don't require referrals. So you could call today and get a same day, next day appointment. The only person that would require a referral would be an active duty service member seeking services, and they would get that TRICARE referral from their medical treatment facility, whichever one they're assigned to. So a great thing about this is there's no referrals required for families and veterans.
Liz, this is Lynn. Real quick, I just wanted to ask you one question. You did talk about telehealth, but is that something that you do still offer? And how does that work when it comes to TRICARE benefits? And is it the same?
Yeah. So with the telehealth, they pay for it just as. There's no special like situations or anything like that. So telehealth is there. And as a matter of fact, I'm happy you asked that question, because now that we are offering in-person services, we are also going to be sending the link to the client for a Zoom. So in the event that their car breaks down or their child becomes sick and they can't make it to the clinic, we still have the opportunity to do telehealth for them. So we find all ways to eliminate any barriers for them to receive those services.
Well, that is fantastic. And Liz, thank you so much for your presentation. Thank you for being here today. It was wonderful. I love some of the backgrounds we're seeing here. I don't know if I don't normally use a background, but today was one of those days that I just said, maybe they don't need to see the mess that's behind my desk. So here's the background. So Liz, again, thank you so much for your presentation. And again, if there are any questions, just throw them in the chat. And we'll be glad to help. And then of course, I believe just send us an email and we'll be glad to get you connected with the presenter if you have any more questions. So next we have Terry Wanamaker. So I really have to say, I've worked with Terry and she and I have just worked on different collaborations, and I've kind of thrown her under the bus with a few things, and she's just been so good at just taking on some roles. And I love the fact that Terry knows the value of saying yes. And that is so important. And I just appreciate that so much. So let me tell you a little bit about Terry. Terry started teaching. She is actually a school liaison officer at NAS Jax, but Terry taught, and she started her career in 1989. She spent 23 years in the classroom. She actually said they were wonderful. I like that she used that word because I think, oh my goodness, that's probably one of the most challenging areas is a classroom. And especially I think nowadays that classroom's changed. She'll probably talk a little bit about that change too through all of this. But Terry is a military spouse, and she has raised 3 children. From 2013 to 16, she was selected to serve as the deputy director of the Command Spouse Leadership School in Newport, Rhode Island. It is in that capacity that Terry studied the intimate details and trends of military families, their specific needs, and how military impacts children over the long term. Of course, she was also living that as well. She currently serves as the school liaison officer for NAS Jacksonville. It is in this role she is able to bring both her passion for education and military families together in a data-driven service model program. And she has a servant's heart for sure. Terry Wanamaker, I'm just going to turn it right over to you. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thank you for that, Lynn, and it has been a joy to work with you. Anything you need, you know, I will try my best to deliver. So like Lynn said, I'm a retired teacher. I'm a former military spouse. My husband retired after 26 years. All the while we raised 3 children. And so I've been there, done that, and can appreciate all that our military families go through on a daily basis. Becoming the school liaison officer for NAS Jacksonville did allow me the opportunity to bring my passion for education and my passion for our military families together and continue my service to our families. So what we're going to look at today is specifically the PCS challenges and needs, and how your school liaison officer can help assist and hopefully help make that transition a smooth one. So the next slide, please. Let's look at why we need to establish such a program. The military life is a unique and demanding culture, one that is filled with frequent transitions to new locations, persistent deployments by parents and family members. Needless to say, our military families face significant challenges when educating their youth. In fact, the average military child will attend 6 to 9 schools between grades kindergarten through 12. In addition, out of the 1.85 million military children, 1.2 million of those children are school age in grades K through 12, ranging from 6 years to 18 years. Now, this data is based on the 2011 census data, so we expect that this could change as our population continues to move and grow. The frequency of transition and the service members' limited ability to choose their next duty station often causes parents to have serious concerns about the lifestyle, education, and friendships in the lives of their children. As you can imagine, this weighs heavy on a military parent's heart, and it can impact such things as retention and readiness. A lot of our families weigh constantly to stay in or to get out, either through retirement or simply through attrition. Next slide. So the role of your military school liaison. It's important to note that all branches of the military have school liaison officers. We are considered purple, therefore we will help, even though I'm employed at a Navy base, I will help all branches of military that reach out to me. And I typically have a policy of anybody who calls me, I will help. Sometimes I do get phone calls from people that aren't even affiliated with the military, and I try to help them as best I can as well. So our role is three-pronged. We are the, we keep our commands, let me back up. We keep our commands and abreast of issues that impact our military children. School choice is a hot topic button right now, looking for those opportunities to leave failing schools and to find better ones. Our second role is we network with our local education agencies. In that capacity, we work with our schools to help them understand why military life has an added challenge to it for our children and what it means to be a military child. We also advocate for programs such as the Purple Star School programs that can be found throughout states nationwide. Florida recently passed legislation to become a Purple Star school state. What that means is if a school is flying that Purple Star proudly, it is a military-friendly school. It is a school that has passed certain criteria in their service to military families. And then finally, and most importantly, we serve our military families. We help them make that transition from school to school, from elementary to middle to high, and we even support our high schoolers moving on past the high school, whether it be college, technical schools, trade schools, or their own career in the military. The school liaison officer's primary function is to serve as a conduit between parents, educators, and the commands, so that military-connected children experience a seamless transition. As you know, military children on average move every 2.9 years. School liaison officers can provide families with educational information to assist them as they begin their PCS planning. Next slide, please. Oh yeah, our 7 core services. That is where we need to be. So there are 7 responsibilities that our school liaisons tackle. The first being school transition, the PCS cycle. School liaison officers assist families with school transfers and help level the playing field for military children and youth. To locate your school liaison officer at your next duty station, you can visit the dodia.edu website. Deployment support is our next area of concern, and that is the school liaison officers can connect educators with military deployment support systems to inform them about the cycle of deployment and the tools available to assist educators in working with military children. Our third area is command, school, and community communications. The school liaison officer serves as the subject matter expert for installations, commands on K-12 issues, helping connect that command, community, and school resources. We also support our homeschool families. The school liaison officer can assist military families by gathering and sharing information on homeschooling issues, policies, and legislations from your local school districts. They also help leverage military child and youth program resources to support these families. Partnerships in Education, or PI. PI creates a volunteer network with resources to support installation and community members who have vested interest in the success of all youth. Prior to COVID, I received numerous requests to get our military into our schools. They really are heroes and are kiddos love to see a uniform in their school, helping out with field day or reading to them or mentoring them, helping them build gardens, all sorts of different opportunities for our volunteers. Post-secondary preparation, school liaison officers leverage installation and school resources to provide graduating military students with access to post-secondary information and opportunities. We look at scholarships, we look at programming, we look at, we get a lot of questions about the GI Bill or the Montgomery post 9/11 scholarships, as well as yellow ribbon programs. So next slide. School programming, and you're going to hear a little bit more in depth about the various school programming, but our school liaison officers oversee the Military Family Life Counselor program, the Implact program in our schools. For example, we at NAS currently have about 36 military family life counselors in approximately 40 schools. They are paid for by the Department of Defense. They are there to service our military families strictly. And it has been just a great program, and you're going to hear more about that later. We also have peer-to-peer support programs, whether it be Anchored for Life or S2S, but we believe that the best person to support a kid new to a school is another child who's been there. And then we also have youth sponsorship programs here on the base where our new kids are partnered up with a existing military child that helps them kind of acclimate to life on base. Next slide. So our motto in the SLO world is call the SLO before you go. Make contact with the SLO at your next PCS destination. For example, if you're moving to Florida, a Florida SLO could tell you that there is legislation that has been signed that allows for our families to enroll in school before they even get here. So they do not have to have proof of residency or that light bill or that driver's license yet. They can enroll their kids to start the day they arrive here in Florida. So your SLOs are your community experts. They can help guide you to schools that will meet your needs and be a good fit. We also know things with regards to legislation. School choice is a huge piece here in the state of Florida. We have scholarships available for private schools here in the state of Florida that are specific to our military families. So call the SLO before you go. And let me leave you with one final thought. As a teacher, I know that our families often have a hard time asking for assistance and they're new to the area. They don't exactly know how to ask for what they need. Remember, no one knows your child better than you do. No one wants to see your child succeed more than you do. By arming yourself with information about federal, state, and local policies impacting education, you will be better prepared to advocate for your child. Thank you very much, Lynn.
Thank you so much, Terry. So I have one question really quickly. So, you know, we talk a lot about National Guard and reservists. They're not the quote unquote active duty force, but yet they serve so much. So their PCS looks a little different a lot of times, but if a National Guard or reservist wanted to or needed some information, would they still also call the SLO before they go? Would you be able to assist them too?
Yes, especially if they're called up to active duty. I don't know a single SLO throughout my experience that would ever deny anyone service. Like I said, sometimes we get those calls from people that aren't even connected, military connected. So we're here to help. We're purple. And there are some programs that are only available to our Guard or Reserve that are called to duty or activated.
Mhm.
And but the SLO, I don't know a single SLO that would not help.
Terry, thank you so much. And I know as much as I've worked with you, there's never been a time again that you said no. So thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So we've had some really great presentations so far. So I'm really looking forward to hearing from this next gentleman. I do want to say this is just a proud mom moment, but I have two Navy boys, actually a son-in-law and a son that's Navy. And then I have a Navy boy in, well, he'll be a sailor once he's June 25th. He is at basic training right now. So I'm very proud to be a Navy mom, and that's a big deal. So just, so I say that for one, because Terry, actually, her husband was in the Navy, and our next presenter, Mr. Don Stout, who currently is the Director for Benefits and Assistance Division with the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, is a U.S. Navy veteran. Thank you so much for your service, Don. Don has actually earned his bachelor's degree in political science from the George Washington University in Washington, D.C. He began his career serving veterans and their families at the U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs, or the VA regional office in St. Petersburg, Florida. That's a pretty place to live for sure. And he's retired after 34 years of service as the regional director of VA in Oakland, California in 2004. Since returning to Florida, Don assists veterans with VA benefits, claims, and appeals process at the Florida Department of Veteran Affairs and 2 Florida County Veteran Service offices. So he stays pretty busy, it sounds like. In September of 2019, Don was selected as the new Director of Benefits and Services Division at the FDVA, or Florida Department of Veteran Affairs, in St. Petersburg, where he manages the FDA's veteran advocacy programs of claims and appeals assistance, field services at VA hospitals and clinics, and related activities. And he's supported by a staff of 110 professionals at multiple offices throughout the state of Florida. Mr. Stout, thank you so much for being here today. And we look forward to hearing all that you have to tell us today.
Well, thank you very much. Can you hear me all right? No.
Yes, sir.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you perfectly. Thank you.
Okay, you're good.
I just wanted to be sure that mute light was off. Okay, we're good. Hello?
Yes, sir. We hear you. Can you hear us? You are now, it looks like, on mute. You were just fine. We heard everything you said.
I was trying to switch that.
Okay, there you are. We hear you.
Go ahead, Don.
Okay, you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
Sorry about the delay there, but thank you very much for that kind introduction. And thank you for inviting us, of the staff of the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs, to your Building Healthy Military Communities virtual town hall today. As you indicated, as you said, I'm Don Stout, Director of the Benefits and Assistance Division, BNA for short. We have people throughout the state of Florida, primarily located at VA hospitals and clinics, whose primary focus, whose very mission is to successfully advocate for veterans and their families and to help them learn more about federal and state veterans benefits and services and resources that may be available to them. We also, our primary mission focuses on the assisting and submitting legally grounded claims for people who have perhaps been injured in the service and still suffer from those injuries today. There's never any charge for our services, ever. We accept no tips, no gratuities, no gifts or anything like that. We're the primary and premium veterans advocate in the state of Florida. This focus on veterans includes being a resource for active duty personnel in their transition to civilian life. What benefits and services are we talking about? Are we helping with? Let me talk about some of the big ones and focus on those. Number one program by far is VA compensation for service-connected disability. by far the biggest VA benefit program, as I said, with some 5 million recipients out of a national total of 19 million veterans. That's nearly 1 out of 4 veterans in the United States are receiving a VA compensation benefit. In Florida, that amounts to an expenditure from the federal government of over $7 billion just for that benefit in the year 2019. Another program that's important, especially, is VA payments to survivors, that's spouses, children, and sometimes parents of those who died while on active duty, or they died of service-related causes after service. There's over 430,000 recipients of this benefit nationwide today. VA healthcare. VA healthcare is available to veterans with service-connected disabilities or modest income, roughly just under $36,000 per year if they don't have service-connected disability. So either service-related disability or modest income, VA healthcare. VA is one of the largest healthcare systems in the United States, with over 6 million veterans enrolled in the VA medical system. So that's nearly 1 out of 3 veterans are enrolled in VA healthcare. There are special programs like vocational rehabilitation for those who need job training but are seriously disabled from military service. There's some 123,000 enrolled in that program right now throughout the country. Post 9/11 GI Bill with over 875,000 participants right now. There's VA insurance programs, life insurance programs, VA home loan guarantee programs to help people with their homes, to purchase a home, VA burial and memorial benefits, and there's still others. Now, of course, there are more details, and that's where we come in. Please contact FDVA at 727-319-7440. Once again, 727-319-7440, or find us simply by searching for Florida Department of Veterans Affairs on the internet. And let me add before I run off that there are a host of programs that the state of Florida and many counties and some urban environments offer veterans and active military certain benefits, including such things as property tax breaks, employment services, veteran preference in state and local jobs. That's just to name a few. Before I leave, I'd like to recommend 2 publications that are readily available over the internet. The first one's called, and this is the exact title, Florida's 2021 Military Friendly Guide. If you search for that exact title, it will pop up and you can read it or download it as you wish off the internet. And also another booklet called Florida Veterans Benefits Guide for 2021. That's a compact booklet outlining major VA and state benefits for veterans and their families. That's all I have today, and I thank you very much for allowing me to come here. Once again, 727-319-7440 for the Florida Department of Veterans Affairs. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Don. We appreciate that information. And again, anyone who has any questions, please feel free to put it in the chat, raise your hand, let us know, but also reach back if you have any questions for any one of these presenters into their programs. They might not hit on everything today because we have a very brief 6 to 8 minutes, but they would be glad to help you if you have any further questions or are looking for some information that maybe you didn't hear about today. This is a good place to start. So now I want to introduce you to a wonderful lady that I've met quite a few years ago, pretty much early on in the Building Healthy Military Communities pilot phase, and it's Diana Allen. Diana serves as the Chief of Health Promotion for the National Park Service. And she also is the agency lead for the Healthy Parks, Healthy People program based out of Washington, D.C. Diana is the team lead for the wellness component of the National Park Service's military engagement strategy and is focusing efforts with the Department of Defense's building healthy military communities in our 6 states now, including here in Florida. I'm so glad to know Diana and all that she's done. And the one thing that I love the most is, I'm going to say this, it's going to sound a little bit strange, but she gets high on her own supply, meaning that she loves biking and hiking and camping and relaxing in the great outdoors. I think she's a great representative for our National Park Service. And Diana, welcome. And we just look forward to hearing all about what the National Park Service does offer here across the nation, but here also in Florida. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for that great introduction, Lynn. I'll just jump right into my presentation. Okay, so as Lynn mentioned, I lead our Healthy Parks, Healthy People program for the National Park Service. It's a holistic approach to promoting everyone's physical, mental, spiritual health, and our social well-being. So I know as we think about these changes in stations, duty stations, and transitions, I just wanted to share this butterfly metaphor and the blooming of the desert as we think about all the possibilities of things that can bloom and be restored in nature as a metaphor for our own lives. So let's see. Here we go. So I hope we all know that parks are good medicine. I think we've been reminded of this as we move through and beyond the COVID environment. And it's been a reminder for all of us to get out just to restore and refresh our spirits, breathe the fresh air. And so I just want to offer a warm welcoming to everyone on the call for wherever you are in life and your children are in life, that this is a welcome invitation to consider the restorative benefits of our parks and the great outdoors. So this year, we're celebrating in the National Park Service 100 years of health. We have an anniversary with the Public Health Service. And 100 years ago, the Surgeon General and the National Park Service Director signed a partnership agreement to promote and advance health of our visitors. So I just think that's another reason to be inviting and welcoming as we celebrate the power of parks for health. So as we think on this, I just like to take a moment for all of us to think about what might motivate each one of us to get outside. And so I'm going to offer a few choices here, and you can just think about this list and think about what on this list would be your top 3. And hopefully you have at least one. So I'll just give you a moment to think on that. And then I'm going to share based on a longitudinal study that's done every year by the Outdoors Foundation for all Americans, what are the top 3? And we'll just see how those might fit with. So the top 3 are to get exercise, to be with family and friends, and to keep physically fit. And then you can see all the other experiential reasons that people might want to get outside, everything from enjoying the sounds and smells to just because it's cool. But for those of us that follow the evidence and the growing evidence of the health benefits of our parks and the great outdoors, all of these reasons, whatever people choose, promote this holistic approach to health. So they all focus on physical, mental, spiritual health, and social well-being. In fact, a new study just came out this year that looked at the literature and shows that the sounds of nature even are good for our health, our physical and mental health, and even more so that the sounds of nature are probably the most prevalent health promoting in terms of sounds. So the sounds of water and birds were topmost in terms of health benefits. So thought I'd just run through a little bit of the literature for any anyone who needs a nudge or understanding on the science behind this, we in the Park Service have an evidence-based approach. So we do know now that nature makes all of us happier and healthier. We know that nature can make us more creative. We know that even being time in nature can make us more generous to others. And then it helps us be more caring for each other and for the earth. So it sort of is this holistic circular view for the Park Service, where we know that this love of nature and love of people can be imbued through our experiences and translate into our lives and to future generations. So as we think about future generations and kids, kids have been, many of them homeschooled and will continue to be homeschooled. Many people are looking for activities even for this summer. So I just want to share a few resources for you if you're looking for ways to connect. We do have a website that includes kids' activities, school programming, lots of virtual experiences for young and old to experience our parks. There's some quizzes, junior ranger activities, all kinds of things, and really more robust ways to experience our parks virtually. And this has been part of our response in the parks to serve all of you needing to connect with our parks. Even in this COVID environment, we found more virtual, robust programming. We also have just launched this summer a new National Park Service app. You can download it for free on the App Store or for Android. And this app helps you plan a visit to the park. So if you're on your way moving across the country or finding a new home anywhere in the country, you can use this app to connect to our national parks and even download some maps that can be available with information on activities in each of those locations. We've also just launched a Park Health Ambassador program. I'd like to invite you all to find this online, just to find 6 simple steps for how you can tune into nature and wellness. You can do this even from the window, from the backyard, from in the neighborhood, or in a nearby park. And then we'd like you to RSVP your experience to share it with others, and we can share all of those spots even internationally with, we're getting ready to launch a map to share those stories and experiences online. So again, just inviting you to help join us in celebrating the power of parks for your health. And you can find more information on our website. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Diana. So I have one question. When it comes to military families, are there any specific military benefits? I know that we have talked many times before about potentially military being able to access the parks for free. Any type of benefits that are there for military and their families. Could you shed some light on that for us really quickly?
Yes, the active military, Gold Star families and veterans now can all access a free pass to, it's the America the Beautiful pass, and it gives everyone access a ticket to more than 2,000 federal recreation lands all across this great nation. So anyone in active military, that includes the Guard, now has access to these passes. So you can find them online. You can also, I think if you just Google America Beautiful Pass and the National Park Service, we have a site that will help guide you through the process of getting your pass, and it includes families. So if you were to come in on a car, the driver and the passengers in that car would all have free admittance and day access to the day activities in the park.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. And so as we're discussing all this when it comes to families, and we've given different resources so far, one of the next presenters, our next presenter is Military One Source. And I just have to say, Military One Source I've been able to work with Andrea this way. I've seen you maybe in person 3 times, but I have worked with you so much on virtually because Andrea, it is amazing what Military One Source offers. So
Yes.
Andrea Davis Worthy is the Military One Source state consultant for Florida, and she is a contractor. She is a United States Air Force Reserve retired veteran for 30 years of service. She has 22 years as a social worker, trainer, and job coach, Air Force operations, logistics, air transportation management. She also has her master's degree of social work from UCF. Andrea, we just thank you so much for being here today, and thank you for all that you do here, in the state of Florida, for our military and their families. Take it away.
Thank you, Lynn, for that beautiful introduction. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can you all see the screen? Okay, so Military One Source is just what the name says. We are your 24/7 connection to all types of information, answers, and support to help military families live their best military life. Military One Source is staffed with people just like you. Everybody who works for Military One Source is either a currently serving service member, their military spouses, their military family members, they are survivors. We all work under the Department of Defense, and the DoD gives us one job, and that's to help you guys take full advantage of all the benefits and resources that are available through Military One Source. So with Military One Source, as I was saying, single source of information for pretty much any type of assistance that a service member or family member needs. All of our resources and services are very private, they're discreet, they're individualized, because when you call into Military One Source, we're going to triage you and find out exactly what you need. All of our services are absolutely free, paid for by DoD. It's tailored, it's confidential, and all of the resources that we use are trustworthy because they are vetted by DoD. One of the main questions I typically get asked is, who is available for Military One Source? All active duty, of course, National Guard and Reserve service members, regardless of your activation status. Immediate family members in the DEER system, Coast Guard when they're activated with the Navy, civilians when they're embedded with the military. If you are retired or you have separated from the military and you have an honorable discharge, you can use Military One Source up to 1 year post-separation for no charge at all. And of course, non-married spouses and children of our fallen. So what you see on the screen, I call kind of our wheel of resources here. These are some of the main programs at Military One Source. Most people have heard of our non-medical counseling that I will talk about in a minute, but we also have, our spouse education and career opportunities program, especially for military spouses, to help you with educational needs. It helps you get certain certifications. It helps you get started in a career. It helps you go to school. It can help you, start a second career. We do all types of document translations. We have a brand new app. It's called My Military One Source that you can actually use from any smartphone. We have what we call educational consultants for the whole family to help you navigate the educational system for school-age children. For middle school, high school, college, and adult education. We have consultants that deal with adult disability and elder care to help you navigate that system. We have adoption consultants, and I can tell you these people are wonderful because before I retired in 2018, many years before I retired, Military One Source actually helped me start my family through the adoption process, and they actually saved me a lot of time and a lot of money by referring me to different sources in my local area. We have health and wellness coaching, special needs coaching. anything that you could possibly need, Military One Source most likely can provide. Now, one of the services that I wanted to highlight today is our spouse relocation and transition program. Now it says spouses, but it's for service members and family members as well. When you are PCSing or you are just relocating out of the military, access this wonderful program, because what Military One Source does is, they help you with some of the heavy lifting. The consultants can assist you with like moving help every step of the way, whether you're PCSing or you're transitioning out of the military. Some of the services they provide are personalized moving plans, where they create a plan for you based on where you're moving and specific needs. They have a program called Plan My Move, where they help you estimate expenses. They find necessary forms for housing and household goods, and they even create a customized calendar with this online tool. All types of relocation assistance by providing you with information about shipment and storage of household goods and housing, as well as, financial management, housing, and stress management. I think that's really important. They will help with, pre-departure briefings by providing you with essential information to help you avoid, costly decisions before you move. So they kind of help you organize it. They also provide transitional assistance, guiding your transition to civilian life by helping you and your family complete all the required tasks and taking advantage of available resources. They can even tell you, about different military installations all across the world to help any relocation or move so much easier for the military family. With Military One Source, all your information is extremely secure with us. Each user is treated with respect, regardless of your rank. All of their information is confidential. It's not shared with your military chain of command. It's not shared with family or friends. It's not released to other agencies. Now, there are a couple of exceptions to that, and we call those duty to warn situations, and those involve safety. So those exceptions are if someone calls Military One Source and there is a suspicion of any type of family maltreatment like domestic violence, child or elder abuse or neglect, that's a safety situation that has to be reported. If you call Military One Source and say, hey, I'm gonna hurt myself or I wanna hurt myself or somebody else, that again is a duty to warn situation that has to be reported. And if anybody reports any type of illegal activity, that kind of goes without saying, it has to be reported. But outside of those exceptions, all of your information is completely confidential. So one of the programs that I mentioned before is our non-medical counseling program. This is for service members and their families. It's private, no cost, not reported to the chain of command. And you get up to 12 sessions per issue for absolutely free. And they're for everyday life issues like, relationships at home and at work, stress management, communication issues, adjustment to deployment, parenting skills, grief and loss, and, PCS moves, transitioning out of the military, everyday life issues. How do you access it? You can access it at any time. It's offered through telephone, online chat, secure video sessions, and in some areas face-to-face. And that's a cool thing about Military One Source. It is, all over the United States and all over the world. And you do not have to live near an installation to access resources, because we are going to refer you to resources in your own community and typically within 30 miles of where you are. If you've ever accessed our website, we have some interactive tools that you can take advantage of. Financial counseling. We have calculators on the website to help you determine, hey, how much house can I afford? How do I start a budget? How do I stick to a budget? We have a service called Mill Tax during tax seasons where you can actually do your taxes online through Military One Source for absolutely free. all types of language services. Pretty much any type of language you want to learn to speak, you can learn to speak it through Military One Source, and it's absolutely free. We have all types of caregiver support, our spouse education and career opportunities for military spouses. And again, we have a new app for smartphones. It's called My Military One Source. You just download it and you can use the website. It's at your fingertips. The Military One Source website is militaryonesource.mil. It is up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days. You go on the website and you can start an online chat. Or if you don't want to look for something on the website or it's difficult to find, you can cut to the chase and just call our 800 number. And anytime you call Military One Source, a warm body, a person will answer the phone. You're never going to get a recording saying that Military One Source is not open. So in wrapping this up, as you see on the screen, the government gives us one job to connect you to your best military life, worldwide access to Military One Source at any time. All of our information is free, it's confidential. All of our experts are very objective. We don't judge, we just help. All of our information is current, it's practical, and you have our commitment that we are here to help service members and family members thrive, because guess what? You are our family. Our contact information is on the right side of the screen. And if you call, somebody is going to answer and somebody's going to help. And that's all I have. And I would be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Andrea, that is what was such a great presentation. I will tell you, I want to comment a couple of things. I was able to actually tour the Military One Source facility. And when she says there's someone that answers the phone, there is someone that answers the phone in that building 24/7. So that is something you can definitely count on. I also wanted just to highlight the fact that my son actually was able to get some ASVAB prep work through Military One Source. So if you've got a child that wants to go into the military, and your spouse is already connected to the military, they can access that to help them pass an ASVAB test. So that was really a great resource there. I've heard multiple stories about Military One Source assisting with all kinds of efforts in the past. One other thing, I had a question. Wendy, Blue Star Families, maybe you can answer this. How many families PCS on average annually?
So every year, it's over 400,000 families that PCS and 200,000 plus that transition out of the military. I mean, you put those numbers together and all of these folks have really kind of pinged everything we were talking about. You need these resources. Military One Source, invaluable resource. I've used it. It's wonderful. You gave such a great presentation. You always do. You're amazing. I can't wait to see you in person and hug you and thank you for everything.
Andrea, if you will quit sharing your screen, I did want to share here that there's a Diana Allen just actually put in the chat a link to America Beautiful Pass. So thank you so much. She mentioned that a while ago. So it's the America Beautiful Pass for active military members and veterans. That link is in the chat if anybody wants to just grab that and utilize that as I continue on. And we go, our next presenter right now, we are over time, but I appreciate everybody kind of staying here with us. That's going to happen when you have great resources here. But let me please, this is an honor to introduce Beth Eifert. Beth is the wife of Major General Jim Eifert, the Adjutant General for the Florida National Guard. They have been married for 33 years, and I know they were all happy years. I know they probably had their challenges, but, and they have 2 children, Austin, 27, who is an officer with the Florida Army National Guard, who recently married Cassidy Parker, and then Catherine, who is 24, an officer and student pilot with the U.S. Air Force. Beth has a deep understanding of the unique needs of military families, as she is one. Not only is she a military spouse, but a military mom, and those are different challenges. As a master's level counselor, she began her career 33 years ago with the Family Support Center at Spangdahlem, is that right? Air Base in Germany. So she has done some PCSing over her life. And that's something we're talking about today. So Beth remains connected to military families as a family readiness group leader, such an important role with the Florida National Guard. Currently, she is also working with a team of Florida National Guard spouses to build a website called FloridaGuardFamilies.org, FloridaGuardFamilies.org, to help inform, connect, and support fellow military families. Miss Eifert, I look forward to hearing everything you have to say. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Lynn, for that great introduction. And thank you all so much for taking the time to be here and for letting me join you. Let me share my couple of slides for you, and I'll do my best to make mine conscious of the time that we've been spending together. So when Jim and I got married 33 years ago, which seems like yesterday, he was in the active duty, and we had one PCS together to Germany before he transitioned to the Hawaii Air National Guard, and we moved there and then moved back to Florida a few years later with the Florida Air National Guard. And since that time, we've moved 3 times. And during those years, as Lynn mentioned, we had our 2 kids who are now grown and experiencing military transition of their own. And then, you know, as part of my professional life, have worked with family readiness, helping military families transition, you know, from a PCS perspective and certainly through their career beyond. And what I've found over the years, both personally and professionally, is that the details of PCS generally work themselves, right? You have a checklist, you have incredible resources like all the ones that spoke today, family programs, we have, you know, Military One Source, contacts back at the unit. So anything that you need to know from a technical perspective, you'll be able to find out. But one thing that we as military families don't often get are tools to understand the psychological and the emotional aspects of transition. And there are tools that exist that can help us navigate this world. Looking back, and I'm going to share one of those tools with you that I wish, looking back, that I would have had with that first PCS, and I was fortunate to have with subsequent transitions, and have helped me very much. And in fact, this particular tool can help with any type of transition, whether it's a PCS or, you know, beyond the military, or a new job, or even a task within a job. So forgive me, I just am recovering from bronchitis, so I may be punctuated with a couple coughs. The tool is called the Transition Curve. And it was created by an organizational consultant back in the day called William Bridges. And he based his work on the work of Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who you may know was a researcher on death and dying. And what she realized is we all go through these predictable stages when we're dealing with that ultimate transition of loss. You probably are familiar with the denial and the sadness and the anger and bargaining and things like that. Well, what Bridges recognized is we go through the same psychological and emotional stages of transition whenever we're experiencing a change. And these stages are very predictable. And if we can predict these stages, we can build in behaviors that can help us along the curve. And so in essence, what Bridges said is change is an event. A PCS is announced. You have a new job. PCS or change is an event. Transition is our reaction to that event. And there are particular stages known as the transition zone. And within the zone, we have 4 different stages that you'll somewhat recognize by Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's death and dying model. Denial, first of all, and I'll talk about what each of these stages entail. Disillusionment, emergence, and then finally acceptance. So in the denial stage, like with the PCS, it's that initial, you know, excitement and shock. Oh my, we're moving. Ooh, this is exciting, but wait. you realize what this actually means, the full impact in terms of uprooting from perhaps a place that you love, and or if you have children, all of the changes that that will entail. And perhaps some sadness because we love that place, and or we love what we've built, or we're a little afraid. So during this denial stage, some helpful behaviors would include reviewing your why. Why are we doing this? Why did we say this is important for our family? And generally, when you reconnect with that why, you gain courage and at least perspective. Review expectations on this move. What do you hope to happen in 3 years or 4 years or whatever the amount of time? What do you hope to achieve? What do you want to say on the other side of that? What are your concerns, and how are we going to address those along the way? What are your personal and professional goals? You need to have those as well as your military member. What do you hope to achieve? And with your kids as well, a super important conversation with kids. Hopes, concerns, expectations, goals. And then now's the time, based on all of that, to begin to do some proactive research. Call family readiness on the receiving end. Ask them about programs and resources available in the local area. Facebook groups. Join the spouse group of that base. My daughter just transitioned to Laughlin Air Force Base, and I joined the Laughlin spouse group, and they have been a fabulous resource of everything from doctors for my daughter, because of course I had to go, do you guys know a great GP? Of course she has to use TRICARE, but I wasn't thinking about that. But anyhow, they're a great source, as you know, spouse groups can be. But it could be a hobby group, or it could be an employment group, and certainly reaching out to Military One Source, they are indeed fantastic. Also allow yourself time to grieve. Maybe set up a ceremony to leave your beautiful place, and mark that time, because a transition is away from one state of being going toward another. So mark that time. As time goes on and we move along the curve, we may continue to experience other emotions until we hit that doldrum phase at the bottom. Withdrawal. We have to withdraw from our current state of being, if you will, which may bring a little bit of anger. Anger is just the tip of the iceberg for emotions like fear or confusion or loneliness. And then a little bit of resistance, and that's okay. The important thing is to give yourself grace. When you know that you're going to go through these feelings and emotions and stages, you know what to expect, and you know you'll come out of it. That's the beautiful thing, until the next change, right? And then you'll go through it again. But we can predict this. So with that, give grace, celebrate small accomplishments, and seek help if needed. In advance, identify your person that you're going to be talking to when things get tough, and that's okay. So you can lean into that for a little while. And then what will happen is something magical. You'll begin in your transition to explore options. All that research you did up front, you're going to start dipping your foot into. You're going to start finding your way, trying that local food, joining local hobby groups or employment groups. You're going to create experiences for yourself and your family. You know you will. We always do. We become engaged and we move forward. That is until the next transition. And so we need to continue to monitor progress, to communicate, to celebrate. And notice that the bulk of the work is on the left side of the curve. That's because time spent upfront predicting and mitigating will help you prevent issues before they occur. Will it be a neat and seamless curve? No, likely there might be some regression when you miss your family or you hit your first roadblock, but you know regression is expected. And so you give yourself grace and time and look at your list and your plan to move ahead. So this curve is helpful, as I mentioned, and I use it all the time, because when we find ourselves in the middle of it, we think we're alone, and we're not. This is typical. And if we can plan for it, we can really make transition a planful and exciting experience. So I hope you find this tool helpful, and thank you very much for letting me share it with you.
That was so awesome. Thank you so much, Beth. I appreciate that. Does anybody have anything to add or have any questions for Beth at this moment? That whole transition thing is a great picture. I was talking with someone today about a grieving process, and not that but when you did kind of just said that about that, grieving your place, leaving that place. You had built a life and friends, and that's probably one of the biggest challenges with transition. So thank you so much for showing us our way out. And like you did say, sometimes it is a back and forth and you're still processing through. So how wonderful. Thank you so much. And I knew you would know so much about PCSing after your wonderful life. So thank you so much, Beth. I do want to draw everyone's attention over to the chat box where there's a couple of other links that have been added. So the link to the Blue Star Families and National Park Trust Park app is been added on there. Wendy added that to everyone. And then also for the link to the National Park Service Wellness and Nature page. So if you have any questions, please just Google or reach out to one of us that invited you here and say, hey, I missed this particular link or whatever. I didn't get to hear all of that presentation. And we would be glad to help you. And we'll also let you know where you can find this link to get the recorded of this if you wanted to go back and listen to it. Okay, we have made it to our wonderful last presenter, 8 wonderful presenters that have been able to just share so much information that it's overload, I'm sure, but just make sure that you kind of lean in. We're almost through here, but we've got a wonderful presenter next here that will have a lot to say to assist you right now. Mary Walston. Mary, I'm so glad you've joined us. Mary is a licensed clinical mental health counselor, currently serving for over 7 years as an Implact, military family life counselor, Implact. Mary's father served in the Navy and her brother served in the Air Force. These experiences have allowed Mary to understand the impact of military life on the family and the individual. Mary sees her job as a calling, and I love that, and every interaction as an opportunity to connect and inspire. So know that when you talk with Mary, you're going to walk away encouraged. I love it. Mary provides a non-medical counseling, but the Implact core, that the military family life counselor, can also be a source of information and referrals for all, including civilian personnel. So Mary, we just can't wait to hear all that you have to tell us. So you just take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Lynn. I appreciate it. I just want to start off by saying that a lot of what was already shared concerning Military OneSource, we are a subsidiary of Military OneSource. So a lot of that information does apply to the Military Family Life Counselor, who is Implact, which is not to be confused with Aflac, which is a life insurance, but the Implact is also someone who I believe can help others. So let's talk a little bit about the Implact program. First of all, who does the Implact program serve? And we talk about active duty personnel, National Guard members, Reserve members, Department of Defense civilians, and 6 months after retirement, you can still access the Implact program. Now, what is the Implact program exactly? So I just want to make that clear. The Implact program provides non-medical, solution-focused, problem-solving counseling support, coaching, education, and services to family members to ensure their readiness for the military life. So when I say non-medical, basically I'm saying that the military family life counselor can only service those who do not have a diagnosis. If you do have a diagnosis, you can still come, but we would have to refer you out to someone else. So non-medical basically means there are things that we can address. And so let's talk about a few of the things that we can do. We can address communication, marriage and relationships, coping with separation. And we talk about PCS, and I thought everyone did a great job in helping understand the trauma that goes along with moving from one place to another place to another place. Deployment and reintegration and reunions as well, grief and loss. So one of the things we've been talking about today, which I think is extremely important, is transition and PCS adjustments. So just to talk about that a little bit more in detail, the PCS adjustments we do provide coping strategies for the entire family. So if you come to a military family life counselor, one of the things that we are trained to do is to provide resources on that installation. So if you're new to the installation, I always say find the military family life counselor, because 9 times out of 10, they've been on that installation for years, and they can tell you everything that you probably have questions about. They can help you navigate the systems that are in place. And so there are sessions that I have that's all that I do is sit down and work with the family on what's next, where to find maybe the local doctor, how do we do this, and how do we find an after-school program for our child, things of that nature. So not only are we resourceful, but we also definitely provide therapy. So each of the military family life counselors are either master's level or higher in terms of social work, marriage and family therapy, psychology, and most of the military family life counselors or Implacts have some type of interaction in their life currently or in the past with the military. It just helps us understand the transitions, how they take place, and the effects of those transitions on the family, and the unknown or maybe even unmentioned stressors that take place. So the excited part about this part is that we get a chance to connect with other resources that are on the installation, including family support centers, the community services, as well as, of course, Military One Source. And being able to plug people into those sessions and give them just a little bit of hope past what they're looking at that moment really does provide a level of support that's needed. The other issue I think that's important to mention is that our services are free of charge. And we are considered, and I call myself sometimes plainclothes security, because you could be standing in line, with me, and I'm just talking to you. And a lot of times people don't know that I'm a counselor, and they may look at my badge and say, well, what do you do? And I tell them this, and then believe it or not, most of my sessions are just stand up, talking to people. We're going back and forth, because some people, unfortunately, will not walk into a mental health facility. They will never go to a therapist, but we are in boots on the ground. We are on the installation. We are in areas where people are interacting. We're in brigades. We're in commissaries. We're in every place that a person could be. So where else are we? Let's talk about that for a second. There's an adult program, of course, and then there's a child and youth and adolescent programs that the military family life counselor, which means that they're in the child development centers. They're working with parents, working with children. That's what we call point of entry, where we can, most of the time, if you're transitioning, your children need to go somewhere. And the point of entry is when we get a chance to meet you, is maybe at the daycare center or child development centers, at the school level. And I thought Terry did a great job in kind of talking about that. And also, we are at school level CDCs, and we're in, of course, the brigades, which we call embedded. I want to talk for a second about why would a person come to see if they are specifically PCSing from one place, transitioning to another one. And I think it's important to note that we are high level trained in resources. The second one, I think children need a lot of support in that transition. What can you do? What coping strategies do we need? I mean, because there's a connection that they have to have until they create a new connection. So how do they remain connected to their former life and still create a new life? And so we offer a myriad of support there. Sometimes it affects the marriage. Honestly, being able to move away from what you're familiar with We see how the pandemic has affected marriages. And so being able to transition through and get to the other side, we assist in getting you to the other side. And if there's more support that's needed, and we like to call it support because we try to remove the stigma of mental health, if there's more support that's needed, we will be able to we make a referral to someone else. The last thing I want to talk about is that we are preventative care. There's a high stigma of mental health attendance. However, there is also people who are still committing suicide, unfortunately. Our goal is to prevent suicide by maintaining preventative care of the things that cause you stressors, the things that cause you or your family in movement or in general stress. And many times that is stress with work and stress with family. And so we address those issues and work with you on that. The last thing I want to talk about is we are a subsidiary of Military OneSource. You can find us on any installation, including O'Connor's. And if you need to reach us, you can call Military OneSource at 1-800-342-9647 and ask for, if you are new to an installation, ask for the Military Family Life Counselor, and they will be able to provide support for you and your family. Thank you so much.
Mary, thank you so much for that information. This was wonderful. This has just been, Wendy, Mike, this has just been a fantastic town hall. I'm very excited and want to just thank the presenters that we've had so far. A couple of things I want to highlight. The website for the Florida Guard family website is floridaguardfamilies.com, not .org. So floridaguardfamilies.com. And Mary, you actually made a statement. You said undercover, what was that? Undercover security or undercover, what was that? Yeah.
Right. Plainclothes security.
Plainclothes security. So I just want to highlight something really quickly. I'm also the Nassau County representative for a program in the Northeast Florida area to come against or to prevent veteran suicide called the Fire Watch. And the Watchstander program that someone could actually go through training and become certified as a watchstander through the firewatch.org website is kind of like that. It's kind of like that undercover or plainclothes security, because really what this is all about, it's about prevention. We know PCS is not something that's the permanent. That's the thing that will never change. PCS is always going to happen. PCS might look different for some. Transition is going to always happen. So how can we as organizations come together to provide a preventative kind of like wall of protection for our service members and their families? And that's what this group is providing, is a wall of protection, is that plainclothes opportunity. Say, hey, I was on this forum, I heard this on this town hall the other day, of this great resource, or the Implact that can help you, or the school liaison officer, or parks. They have great things going on. Or we have a Florida National Guard program. And have you tried the FDVA? And Blue Star Families connects your families, to resources within the community. And of course, you have Military OneSource. It's so fantastic. And then if we do have a problem, we've heard about the Cohen Veterans Network. So these are all great organizations that just have linked arms today to show our families and our military families, and military members themselves, that there is a support structure out there. So as we have ended this, I just want to thank you. And Dave Kennett actually posted something in the chat, and he is the Transition Assistance Advisor. He is so on it. Every opportunity he has, he is so passionate about helping service members and their families. And he is a great transition assistance advisor. He is fantastic. So that's in the chat there, but I'm just going to turn it over. Wendy, Mike, is there anything else you want to say as we close everything out today?
I'm just thrilled to all. I can't thank you all enough for participating. for being such great advocates and helping our family members and in this time of whether PCS or transition. Lynn, as always, you are a natural at this. I'm so glad you're willing to do all the heavy lifting. And of course, General Fleming, Mike Fleming, thank you so much. And your team over there at Centerstone, amazing. All of you, every panelist, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. You're amazing.
And I'll just conclude with this, that we're going to be, we're recorded this. And so we will send it out not only to the registrants, but also to all of our individual distribution lists to try to get the information out, because we had, as both Wendy and Lynn have indicated, we had tremendous panelists who really are passionately want to help military members and their families. So thank you to each one of them. And hopefully in the next week or so, we'll get all the information out to you. But for me, Lynn, that's all I had.
Yeah, thank you so much for everybody. Thank you to our panelists and thank you for all of our attendees. And we just look forward to linking arms with you in the future as we continue to support our military and their families. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.